What is your accidentally caught your spouse cheating horror story? Dating this girl a few years back, and I became really good friends with her brother, just because he appreciated my help during a difficult time for their family. Their father had abruptly passed away. 2 years into the relationship, the brother contacts me and asks to meet up for coffee and a serious conversation. Apparently he caught his own sister with another guy, mutual friend of ours, and this shit had been going on for like a year. As soon as he found out, I was told. Broke up with her. Still friends with her brother. Go figure. Came back from a trip 4 hours early. Wife was supposed to be at work still. Opened the front door to see her sitting topless on the couch making out with a coworker. He ran out the door. She ran into a bathroom and locked the door. Sat on that couch for about an hour because I couldn't think what else to do. Finally just up and left so she could come out of the bathroom and put a shirt on. Had been on the road for work. Was supposed to be 10 days. Got to go home a day early. Had a friend pick me up at the airport to surprise my wife and 2 children. 2 years and 8 months. Walked into my ex and her coffee friend snuggling on the couch with my kids in the same room. I was livid. Of course she denied everything. We split up weeks later. 2 weeks ago I sent a message to a mutual friend asking to borrow a router. He didn't answer, but no worries, he lives nearby. I'll just stop by and grab it. I pull up to his house and start heading down the driveway. He has a long country driveway, so it's a few seconds before I see my car. I drive a company vehicle during the day. Already there, my heart began to sink, but they are friends and business partners. Maybe it's nothing. I got out of my van and look up to see the other guy shirtless in his bedroom. At this point my heart is down on my stomach and I'm visibly shaking. I go in and immediately head upstairs. He is alone, now clothed. I say I came to borrow the router. Also, have you seen my wife? The car is here. He then proceeds to give the worst improv I've ever heard. No, she was here at some point though. Whatever, I knew she was there, I just wanted him to admit it. I go down, take the router, and head back to the van where I finally encounter my wife topless trying to sneak around the side of his house. And now here I am. Edit. To all those wondering, I kept the router. Edit 2. It's a plunge router for woodworking. I caught my ex thanks to ducking Pokemon Go of all things. She mentioned Pokemon Go was using lots of her data. I explained that in her settings she could see how much data an app was using. I proceeded to show her and prove to her it wasn't by pointing out Tinder was using much more data. It was sad, but also funny the way it went down. I've posted this before, but it's still funny to remember. Found my wife's notebook. Written on the first page was a 10-step plan detailing how she was going to leave me for another guy. I turned it into 1 step. I got a new job with a cell phone company. Free phone for me, $15 a month for her. First bill comes in with call detail. She was on the phone an hour a day with this number while supposedly at work. I call. Dude answers. I hang up. I ask her. She lies and said it was a gal pal of hers. I told her I know she is lying and call it again. Dude answers. Duck you Brooke. One night she told me not to come over because she wasn't feeling well. But then my sister wanted this hoodie back that she'd borrowed, so I thought I'd stop over with chocolate and a Slurpee. I knocked on her door. She came to the upstairs window with only a blanket wrapped around her. I thought I told you not to come over. My sister needs her hoodie. Who's that? Says some male voice from her bedroom. Ah, I see how it is. I'll talk to you tomorrow, she says. Probably not. Have a good one. After a week visiting friends in London, England, I flew back to Canada. I was supposed to do something with another group of friends when I got back, but plans fell through, so I drove the 4 hours home to the apartment we shared. She expected me home at 6 p.m. I'd been up for 30 straight hours and got home at 6 a.m., wanting nothing more than to fall into bed. There was an extra set of feet attached to some a-hole when I walked in. Girlfriend ran over her phone by accident and destroyed the screen. Asked me to back up all her stuff and transfer it to her new Pixel. Use backup tool that captures all sorts of dirty messages and nudes with another guy. Not me, my dad. He told me the story a few years back. So, Some of my mom's family were visiting from out of town, and they had planned a night at the bingo, which my dad couldn't attend because he was working 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. He finished work early and on his way home saw my babysitter on the street. "You are not with you/Bassman 1976. No, your wife called me at around 8 p.m. saying she wasn't feeling well and that she would stay home." My dad drove home, tried the front door, locked, no lights. He entered the house by the basement door, went up the stairs, heard them, a few feet away, my mom and her cousin. 2 years later, he almost left her, with me in tow, but stayed so I could have a normal life. Most of the time, I wished he'd left because he wouldn't have worked 90 to 100 a week to avoid being home and cold been happier. For those who are wondering, my mom had a long-time affair with her cousin, starting before she met my dad. She wasn't happy either, I think, but my dad was a good catch. Yes, I'm sure he is my dad. We look so much the same. Yes, they are still together, and after a year of being angry, I decided to let go because their relationship has nothing to do with me. Just sad for both of them. I returned from work on Christmas Eve. We had tickets to a festival which started the day before Nye, and I couldn't find the tickets anywhere after seeing them the month before. I decided to double check the trash before we put it out for collection. I found a used condom. We lived on our own. Long story short, I suspected something for a few months. Like an idiot, I opened her phone while she was asleep and found exactly what I was looking for, like you always do when searching through someone else's phone. Even with all of the texts right there, to see she still lied about it multiple times. She eventually admitted to it, but downplayed it heavily. She told me about 2 nights ago that he asked her out on a date, and she said I had to say no, and was visibly sad about it. In the process of getting a divorce now. Hurts like hell. Went home and my husband wasn't home, which was weird for him at 8 p.m. when an hour earlier he had told me he was going home. Had a gut feeling, went to one of our female friends, who he claimed was like a sister, apartment. His truck is there. I knock. No answer. Try the door. It's unlocked. Walk into the living room. Nobody there. Hear noises in the bedroom. Walk in and lo and behold, there they are. Tried to make it work over next couple of months, but I can't get past it. Didn't even want him to touch me. Divorced 4 years ago. After a night of trying to keep up with my ex and her coworkers drinking, I call it a night. They stopped talking a few minutes later, and the dog scratched at the door. I let the dog in, and saw them making out on the couch. I watched for 10 minutes, before they noticed me. They were taking their clothes off by then, and he was touching her favorite spots, like he knew them well. No denying it by then. I'm glad I knew. A tense conversation followed with the two of them. He left, very drunk on a very cold night. She got a ride to her aunt's place, and begged me to go look for him in the cold. Me and my girlfriend were long distance, and she had a habit of going quiet sometimes. She'd been texting me for the last few weeks, but had made excuses not to come visit. I went to a party that my friend had organized. I met a friend of his who told me he had a new girlfriend. I was surprised he hadn't mentioned her, so I asked who she was. This lady introduced me to my girlfriend. She told everyone that we broke up and had been dating my friend for about a month. She didn't bother to tell me. My first long-term girlfriend and I were going to go to the same college. I got accepted, but had to start the semester after she did, meaning we would be slightly long distance for a few months. It wasn't too bad, because we were only about 2 hours apart, so it was pretty easy to visit, but our relationship did struggle a bit. I remember one night I got a phone call from her, and when I picked up it was obvious it was a butt dial. I could hear her talking to some guy, but couldn't make out what they were saying. I called her, and she picked up, and I asked what was up. She said she was in bed about to go sleep. I told her about the butt dial and she said it was her friend Jack, who I met, asking to borrow something. I thought it was odd, but brushed it off. A couple weeks later I was up there visiting her, and I met a bunch of cool people, including this guy Luke. After I got back from visiting I get a Facebook message from him saying, "Look man, I hate to be the one to say this, but I think you're an awesome guy and you don't deserve this to be happening to you. She's been cheating on you with this guy pretty soon after she started here. I was devastated, but I had to hear it from her, so I called her and said, "Are you cheating on me?" She gave a heavy sigh and said, "Well, at least I don't have to lie anymore." That guy's voice I had heard wasn't Jack, it was the guy she was cheating on me with. I just trusted her so much that I took her word for it. Even though it was painful, I was grateful for Luke sending me that message. What's funny is that most of the people I met up there that were her friends sided with me after the breakup. So when I started going there that next semester, I had a group of friends to support me, and most of them are still very close friends of mine to this day. Got any similar stories? Leave it in the comments below.